What did you write, David?
So for the primitive for this sentence, I chose, as I did before, move possession as the best primitive. I think it captures the high-level meaning of the sentence, which is that we're actually talking about a transfer of ownership of the book from Mary to John, even if only temporary. It might be tempting to think of move object as filling this primitive, and indeed it's hard to picture John taking the book from Mary without moving an object, but move object doesn't capture the highest level meaning of this sentence. John could move Mary's book without actually taking it from her. So instead, move possession is probably the best way to capture the high-level meaning of this sentence. Given that primitive, we can go back to the rule that Ashok was mentioning earlier, which is if we have an animate agent immediately before the verb, we can infer that that agent is the one executing the action. So John here is the agent doing the move possession action. Similarly, we can say that if there's an inanimate object immediately after the verb in the sentence, then we can probably infer that that's the object that is actually being taken, so book becomes the object. Now, if we recall way back in the previous lesson our list of the way that different prepositions constrain the meaning of a sentence, we can remember that from usually indicates that the word that immediately follows it is the source for some action. Here we have a slot titled source, so we're looking for a source. We have a preposition that indicates what follows is a source, so we can infer that Mary is the source from which John gets the book.
That's good, David. Notice how lexical, syntactic, and semantic analysis all coming together here. The driver is semantic analysis. The driver is this frame which captures the semantics of this particular sentence that allows us to draw inferences about it. That's why we're using the term semantics here. So the semantics is being captured by this frame with terms of all of these slots. But how do we decide on the fillers? Well, that requires lexical analysis and syntactic analysis. So when we have the word John here, John is a concept, and that concept is inanimate, and that information is coming from a lexicon. That is the lexical analysis. And when we have a sentence like John took the book from Mary, and from is a preposition and Mary follows immediately after that, this is capturing part of the syntax of this particular sentence. And that is how we derive that the source must be Mary. So the semantic, lexical, syntactic analysis are all working together here. Notice also how frames and rules are coming together here. We've seen how frames help us understand the meaning of the stories, and that is being done in part by the rules that are buried inside the slots. So there is a rule here which tells us how to extract the agent from the sentence and put it inside the slot. Similarly, there's a particular rule here and a rule here, and each one of these slots may have its own rule. Of course, as these sentences become complex and these frames become complex, these rules will become much more complex, and sometimes there will be multiple rules here and multiple rules here, and this can become very complex very soon. Another point to notice here is that this is capturing the semantics, like I said earlier. And how do we know that? Because I can ask questions. Who has the book? Who had the book? What did John take from Mary? And you can answer all of these questions using this frame. Once you have this frame, question answering becomes possible. Common sense reasoning becomes possible.